Right now you're outside of the USA. So this is the cheapest trip I brought for you. Let's go inside. There's a whole city underneath. So this is nicknamed one of the most important rulers of the world.
The unique mission of the United Nations is to solve the world's toughest problems. This is a tour of the organization's headquarters, also known as the Workshop of Peace. Part of the Open House New York Festival in October, the event was led by UN guide Ben Danieli.
My name is Ben Benjamin. I'll be your presenter. I'm from Berlin, Germany. Please follow me. Over here we have the nice angle of the Secretariat Tower. 80 years ago, the Second World War was coming to an end. While the war is still happening, 51 governments meet in San Francisco. These 51 governments were all considered allies, friends of the Second World War. And by June, they start signing the UN Charter, which is the main document, the legal basis, kind of like a constitution for the UN. And it entered force on October 24, 1945. Now, the UN is a big body with many different organs, but there are 6 major organs. We have the General Assembly. That's the big famous room you see on television, where all the governments are equal with one vote. That's this building right here. Once we're done with the General Assembly, we're going to go to the conference building, which hangs over the FDR drive. Inside the conference building, we have 3 main councils. We have the Security Council. They're having a meeting at 3 o'clock on Haiti. We have the Economic and Social Council, all about development, cultural, societal, environmental, sustainable development. And then we have the Trusteeship Council. It had to do with the decolonization, helping people under former colonial rule self-determine their political future. The big tower that you see, standing like a beacon of hope on First Avenue, that's called the Secretariat. That's the people that work for the United Nations, the gears that make the UN function. Social media, accounting, human resources, political affairs. I'm the Department for Global Communication. Roughly 6,000 international civil servants like myself in New York City alone. All over the planet, about 40,000 people work for the UN. The head of the Secretariat is the highest ranking UN official. They have the title Secretary General. He's very busy right now, a lot of pressure on him, as you can imagine. Anybody know his name? Antonio Guterres. Now, once the charter was signed, one of the first questions popped up. Which city around the world will have the honor to host the headquarters of the United Nations? It's a big deal. It brings a lot of money in for the cities. Tourism, hotels, shoppings, restaurants, limousines, especially in September. 3 weeks ago, we had the high-level event. Kings, queens, presidents, their families showed up. So the 51 governments, they had to vote. One of the first votes, let's have it outside of Europe. They wanted to have a fresh start, a new beginning. Europe was pretty much destroyed. Their first vote was to have it inside the USA. But then what happened? All the cities started fighting within the USA. Boston wanted to have it. Washington, D.C. wanted to have it. San Francisco wanted to have it. Philadelphia was this close to winning. Do you know where the Rocky statue is? There's a big park in the back, Fairmount Park. That's where the UN was supposed to be. But then what happened? Money. The Rockefeller family, you heard of them? I guess they need no introduction. They gave a check of $8.5 million US to buy this land. 6 New York City blocks of land, very good price. If you convert it to today's money, it's about 100 million, which is less than one of those apartments up there. And it was a gift to the whole world. Now, anybody have an idea what this was before the UN? It's kind of ironic. Now it's all about peace, humanity, development. Slaughterhouse, animal slaughterhouse. Yes, this used to be a very industrial area here. There was a port here. There used to be a pencil factory here. They used to kill animals here. And now it's all about peace. And there was a man by the name of Michael Zeckendorf. He was a real estate entrepreneur. And he wanted to use this land to build something called X City. And X City was going to rival Rockefeller Center. There was going to be a big opera house over here, office buildings, open park, but he was missing a couple $1 million. And the architect he chose was Wallace K. Harrison. Wallace K. Harrison was the architect of the Rockefeller Center as well. So overnight, Rockefeller came, puts a check down for $8.5 million, takes the blueprint of Wallace Harrison, crosses out the opera house, and puts GA, General Assembly. So overnight, New York City won the competition pretty much. Now, New York City, they had 6 New York City blocks to work with. They could have built many buildings. Now, 80 years ago, we only had 51 governments. We only had 51 flags on First Avenue. Anybody count the flags this morning? We're up to 193 governments. So we started with 51. We expected about 100 governments and about 2,000 meetings per year. Now we have to accommodate 193 governments and over 8,000 meetings per year. So the UN knew it was going to expand and adapt. The flags come up every morning in English alphabetical order, starting on 48th Street right there with Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, all the way down to Yemen, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. After Zimbabwe, there's 2 more flags though, for non-member observers, which are governments that have a seat in the General Assembly. They can participate, but they do not have a vote yet. One is Palestine, as of 2012, and the other is the Vatican City. So the architects had to be from one of the original 51 countries. They were all very well known. They all had huge egos. I want to do this, I want to do that. One of the most prominent architects at the time was Le Corbusier from France, Swiss architect. He is known for the buildings at The Hague. Oscar Niemeyer from Brazil, known for his curvatures and unconventional lines. Dr. Liang from China, Basel from the Soviet Union. They called it a workshop for peace. That's what they wanted to design. One thing they all agreed on is to have an open space. So they could have built many buildings for UNICEF, for UNESCO, for UNAIDS, for WHO, but they decided to have one building, one tower, standing as a beacon of hope, a monument of peace, almost like the Washington Monument in DC, right? If you look at the tower from this angle, it doesn't even look like a building, and it stands away from First Avenue. It stands away from First Avenue, so you don't have to break your neck. And this tower, that was the first building in New York City to be covered by a curtain of glass on both sides. It was very special back in the day. Today, all over New York City is covered in glass, but it still stood out. A couple elements that will be reoccurring throughout the tour is one, less is more, form follows function, and architecture doesn't forget. For example, we have some original cobblestone from the slaughterhouse over here. Now, construction began in 1946. They had to excavate. The first building was the tower. The tower took only 18 months to complete. After World War II, there was a lot of work to do. We had to get things going. By 1950, there were already 2,000 people working inside. The building itself, the entire complex, was finished in 1952. So only 3 years of construction. The 11 architects, they met over 70 times at Rockefeller Center, and they had over 40 different schemes. Put one building here, one building there, should they all be connected, especially between Le Corbusier and Oscar Niemeyer. Now, they wanted to stay away from Romanesque architecture. They wanted to stay away from traditional architecture. They wanted to have a new international style. So this is called international style, especially the General Assembly building. It has these curvatures, the curved concave walls left and right, very untraditional for the 1950s. A lot of optical illusions. For example, you have the pavement walking, it's going along with the marble. The marble is from New England, from Maine, New England. And you can see that it flows with the marble up. And in between the marbles, you have thermopoint glass. Thermopoint glass, so it lets in natural light a little bit. And the glass gets smaller and smaller as you make your way up. You see that? That's an optical illusion. It makes the building look a lot taller than it actually is. It's only 4 stories tall. The money, there was a loan from the US government of $65 million, interest-free. It took the UN 30 years to pay it back. In 1970, they paid it back. And then they received a gift of $25 million from New York City. So they had about $85 million to work with, which is not that much. Money ran out pretty quickly. Why? They had to widen First Avenue. Okay, right now we have a tunnel on the First Avenue, right? There's a tunnel on the First Avenue here. So they had to dig a tunnel for the traffic to flow during September. I'm sure a lot of you know what happens here in September. All the traffic, you can't even cross the street when Trump comes by. The tower had to be cut down from 45 floors to 39 floors. So there were a lot of budget cuts made pretty quickly. And when it came time to furnishing the rooms, the interior, there was really no more money left at all. So who stepped up? The Scandinavians. So the rooms are actually gifts. Now, security was not an issue. Nobody ever thought that the UN flag would be targeted. There was no fence on First Avenue until the 90s. People would come here, tan on the lawn. There were kids playing in the fountain. There used to be a playground here. Your mothers would just drop off the kids with the security officers. After 70 years of work, the building was pretty much run down. Asbestos was a huge problem in the 60s and 70s. Smoking, 2,000 people smoking at the same time, was a huge problem. All the art was destroyed by the smoke. So in 2006, renovation became a necessity. After 9/11 especially, Mayor Giuliani was back then. He came to the UN, like, you have to step up your game right now. You have to step up your security measures. For the governments, it's not a priority to make sure that the chairs look nice. The priority is zero hunger, no poverty. So it wasn't a priority to renovate the rooms. After 9/11, it became a major priority. The member states put money together, over $2 billion, and they had a 6-year capital master plan to renovate the building, to restore the building, to upgrade the building, to secure the building. The architect of the capital master plan, CMP I'm going to refer to, was Mr. Michael Adlerstein. He's known for renovating historical landmarks like the Taj Mahal he did. He redid the Statue of Liberty. He redid Ellis Island. And then he got to do the project for the United Nations, which is a pretty big deal. And by the way, right now you're outside of the USA. So if you guys are all New Yorkers, this is the cheapest trip abroad for you. As soon as you came in, you actually left the USA. Officially speaking, this land has extraterritorial special status. That's a full, confusing, long title. It means that New York Police, FBI, Fire Department of New York, they cannot step a foot in the complex without the permission of the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. But don't you guys get any ideas? The UN has 400 of their own police officers. Okay, they're not security guards. He's an officer. They carry weapons. We have a medical unit. We have the only fire truck on the planet with a diplomatic license plate. Very small fire truck. And we even have our own post office, which means the UN makes their own stamps downstairs. So if you want to surprise your family or friends with a postcard from another country after the tour, make sure to use the mailbox and the stamps downstairs. The United States of America will not recognize them. And if you're getting a souvenir in the bookshop, duty-free, no tax. We even have our own bees. Yes, we have our own bees. They're called Bees Without Borders. They're rescue bees. It's a gift from Slovenia. 1 in every 7 people in Slovenia is a beekeeper. During the pandemic, they were considered essential workers. They were the only people who had to come here during the pandemic. You have the German flag. Across you have the Saudi Arabia flag, the Kuwait flag, the Turkish flag. From here until 3rd Avenue, you have missions. That's where governments have their offices. So over here, the people that work here are just the people that work for the UN. And the diplomats coming just for the meetings. And as soon as you enter the lobby, you have no idea where to go. That's the idea, to get lost inside the UN, to get inspired by the artwork inside. You have a satellite hanging over your head. So let's go inside. The doors are a gift from Canada. And those are the same doors that people have been using since 1950. They were a gift. They're made out of nickel and bronze, one of the biggest exports of Canada. You have the Canadian leaf and the 4 symbols in Latin. Pax means peace, justice, veritas, truth, and fraternity. Okay, so you enter through the main doors. This is the same door that people have been entering for the last 77 years since the building was opened. Right here, you're in the main lobby. And believe it or not, right on that floor, on the 2nd floor, is the main General Assembly Hall. So if you were to take these steps, these are called the ceremonial steps. Okay, that will lead you right to the podium of the big General Assembly, where President speaks. So people have no idea that they're so close to the Assembly at this point of the room. Now, as soon as you come in, you can see you have a real-size replica of the first satellite in space, Sputnik, just hanging over your head, showing how humankind has advanced. This was in 1957. On the other side, you have the focal pendulum swinging. That was 1850, a gift from the Netherlands. It proved how fast the Earth spins. You have these floating balconies, which is designed by Le Corbusier. It kind of looks like a building within a building, and it makes the building look much taller. From here, we can see the glass, so you have some natural light coming in and lighting the building. And then you have these rods, these golden tubes that serve 2 purposes. One is decorative, but also this is the fresh air. Anybody want to guess how many basements we have? So right now we're on the 1st floor. How many lower levels do we have, do you think? We have 5 basements. So there's a whole city underneath, which stretches from 42nd Street to 48th Street. The 4th and 5th basement is the HVAC, the heating, ventilation, air conditioning system. This is the only building left in New York City that has permission from the city and the state of New York to use the water from the East River. So yeah, so we do not have a generator on the roof. Our generator is on 48th Street. So on the 5th basement, they actually pump the water from the East River, which is very, very cold. It goes into the ocean. And then they shoot it up to the tower to cool down all the machinery and also provide the fresh air. So if you put your hand over here, you can actually feel the fresh air coming. You can feel the fresh air. And this is from the 1950s. This is clean, renewable energy that they thought about. You feel it? And in the winter, they heat it up, and they use the steam to heat up the building. So this is one of the elements the architects thought about as early as 1950. Just shows how they come. Now, as I mentioned, usually you have a lot of exhibitions here. This is the first time I've seen the lobby like this, which I really like, because here you can see the optical illusion. From here to where we started, there's a difference of 40 inches. So the ceiling goes down 20 inches, and this floor goes up. So this column is 140 inches, and where we started is only 80 inches. And that's nothing new. That's something that the Romans used back in the day by using shorter columns, shorter and shorter. It makes the hallway look much longer than it actually is. A lot of curves at the UN, very untraditional lines. That's an element by Oscar Niemeyer. If you go to Brasilia in Brazil, almost every second building was designed by Oscar Niemeyer, who's very famous. And what does it do having curves? It draws your eyes. It makes you want to see what's around the corner. And what's around the corner, you have actually pretty interesting stuff over there. And we're going to see these elements occurring in other rooms as well. Right? Unfinished ceiling. The work of the UN will never be finished. We'll see that as well. This industrial arch you have here, that arch brings us back to the industrial age. So to show us like a contrast of the old and the new. And that's the same arch that holds the ceremonial stairs. In the back, you have a museum of technology. All the artworks were gifts. We have a meditation room, a gift from Sweden. It was featured on Netflix in The 3-Body Problem. So we're about to enter the heart of the UN body, the General Assembly, where all 193 governments are equal with 1 vote.
Unfortunately, due to security concerns, audio recording was not allowed in the meeting rooms, so I'll share some of what Ben said, plus some additional info. All of the chambers have a different vibe to them. Welcome to the General Assembly, the main policy organ of the UN, the main deliberative organ of the UN. 2 weeks ago was the high-level week when presidents, kings, prime ministers came from around the world. This is the only room where we see the symbol of the United Nations, the emblem, because this is the only room where all 193 governments are equally represented. There's a big competition to figure out how they were going to show the UN map in that symbol. At the end, they chose this design from the North Pole. There's nobody directly in the middle, right? There's no borders within the continents. And then you have circles, which represent security, and 2 olive branches embracing the world, representing world peace. Now, the emblem you see in this room is actually a speaker, so when somebody speaks through the microphone, it gets amplified through the UN emblem, like the UN itself is speaking to the United Nations. Back in the day, each country had a full table. They had 12 chairs, but today, as more and more countries have been added, they cut it down to 6 chairs per government. So a country like Liechtenstein with about 40,000 people, or India with a population over 1.4 billion, 6 chairs per government. To keep things organized at the UN, things are done in alphabetical order, but it's not fair if Zimbabwe is always in the back. So each year, the Secretary General picks a country like a lottery to be the starting nation. So this year, it's Niger in the front and New Zealand, then Nicaragua in back. The architects searched all around the world for ideas to make a global forum. They chose theater-like seating, and for the podium, the rostrum for the speaker to be almost at floor level, speaking up to the people. When it was being built, with much of the money coming from the United States, a senator from Vermont said that Congress would approve the funds more quickly if there was a dome, so the designers included a dome, but it's a shallow one, very short and uncovered. The main materials you see are pine wood from the United States and carpeting to muffle the sounds of shoes on the floor. The wood battens, the slats, are decorative, but they also help with the acoustics. The walls are concave, and throughout the room are very untraditional lines and angles. The artworks are abstract, so you can see whatever you want. The gold is gold leaf from Cuba, and the chairs look like leather, but they're actually mahogany rubber. Many are from the 50s, and their worn-out condition shows the financial challenges of the UN, and its priority is not on renovating the building. Downstairs, we saw the ceremonial stairs, and they lead right up into this tunnel here. It's actually called a vomitorium, which was a designed passageway in Roman amphitheaters like the Colosseum, used for rapid, efficient entry and exit of large crowds, not for actual vomiting. But it also has the leaders entering down the middle aisle, a very humble entrance, where you're giving your back to presidents, to kings, to prime ministers. Next, we visited what's called the most important room in the world, the Security Council, the primary organ charged with ensuring international peace and security. It has 15 members, 5 of whom have permanent seats: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, the great powers that were the victors of World War II. When the USSR fell, its seat was converted to Russia. Permanent members can veto any substantive Security Council resolution, including those on the admission of new member states to the United Nations or nominees for the office of the Secretary General. This veto right does not carry over into votes in the General Assembly, which are non-binding. The other 10 members of the Security Council are elected on a regular basis for a term of 2 years. The Council presidency rotates monthly among its 15 members. They sit in the middle of the horseshoe and set the agenda of what is going to be talked about and decided upon that month. Resolutions of the Security Council are typically enforced by UN peacekeepers, consisting of military forces voluntarily provided by member states and funded independently of the main UN budget. The room was a gift from the government of Norway and was designed by Norwegian architect Arnstein Arnenberg, who had designed Oslo's City Hall. It is a very serious setting, the round table allowing leaders to interact intimately and directly. The blue chairs, representing peace, are for the members, and the red chairs, representing blood and war, are for all the other countries in the UN to observe the proceedings. There are also 2 places at the main table for other countries to join the meeting and speak. The gallery was open to the public for 50 cents to reserve a chair until the first World Trade Center attack in the early 90s, and now it's always closed. The mural at the front by Norwegian painter Per Frog, who studied under the French master Matisse, has a lot going on. It's painted with oil, framed by marble, and features a phoenix rising from the ashes of World War II. Natural straw material in the back is very relaxing, but on the sides, a dark, beautifully ornate wallpaper features golden wheat representing prosperity and growth, and hearts of cherry. Very importantly, there are two entrances to the room to allow parties from two sides of a conflict to avoid direct confrontations with one another, like Israel-Palestine or Russia-Ukraine. On either side of the mural are dark curtains covering windows that offer a beautiful view of the East River. The first major incident here came back in the 60s. Che Guevara, the Cuban-Argentinian freedom fighter, was speaking in the big General Assembly room when someone launched a bazooka at the UN. Luckily, it landed in the water, but it splashed the building. That's when security started ramping up a little bit. Over the years, there have been dynamite and pipe bombs left in areas of the building. During the Capitol Master Plan renovations in the 2010s, the windows were replaced with double-paneled glass that can bend and flex up to 10 centimeters. Shock absorbers were added to the pillars supporting the building over FDR Drive below, reinforcing them against an attack. Photographers were allowed on the floor until the 90s, when Maoist extremists posing as photographers attacked the Soviet and American ambassadors with substances that everyone feared was poison, but luckily turned out to just be red paint. Now photographers and translators sit in the elevated rooms overlooking the meeting space. Back out in the hallway, a display showcased one of the 12 Nobel Peace Prizes the UN and its agencies have won over the years. Another of the main organs at the UNHQ is the Trusteeship Council. Its mission was to transition 11 colonial territories taken from the defeated nations in the Second World War to be self-governing or independent states. The last to achieve this status was Palau, which used to be under Japanese and then US administration. It gained independence in 1994. With its mission now complete, today the room is used for meetings on a daily basis as a multifunctional space. This room is about the same size as the Security Council chamber, but it has a completely different feel to it. It's much more colorful and much less serious. Originally a gift from Denmark in the 1950s, it was created by architect Finn Juhl, who designed everything in the chamber as a comprehensive whole. The 7 types of wood and other materials were all imported, and the colorful boxes represent various national flags, but also hide the ductwork added when the room was refurbished as part of the Capitol Master Plan. The gorgeous modern wood chairs cost $10,000 each. The lamps are the Juhl originals. They were handcrafted and today are worth $250,000 each. There are only 57 in the world, and this UN headquarters building has 55 of them. The UN's volunteer celebrity peace messengers often speak here. The youngest, Malala from Pakistan, spoke for the first time ever here after recovering from being shot by the Taliban.
Dear friends, on the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullet would silence us, but they failed. And out of that silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change my aims and stop my ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born.
The Economic and Social Council room is a gift from yet another Scandinavian country, this time Sweden, originally designed by architect Sven Markelius. He left the ceiling deliberately unfinished to symbolize that the work of the United Nations will never be finished, and the pipes and ducts are exposed to remind us of the importance of the structure and foundation behind the UN's never-ending work.
To sum things up, this is what the UN is all about. It's a gift from the USA. A mosaic based on a painting by Norman Rockwell from Massachusetts called The Golden Rule, presented by former First Lady Nancy Reagan in 1985. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This mosaic took 9 months to put together. It's not stone, it's about 22,000 glass. Made out of glass pieces called Murano glass, right next to Venice. The technique used by Venetian artists. All right, my friends, thank you all so much and have a wonderful weekend.
As a final reminder that we're all human beings sharing a single planet, Ben showed me the UN flag the Apollo 11 astronauts took to the moon and back, along with the 4-ounce lunar rock they presented to Secretary General U Thant in 1969. Thanks for watching.